is to make our and help and facilitate the goal setting and the thinking of the objectives from the start, and sort of to support the reaching of those goals within a reasonable time.
We have two more, Hannu and then
I would like to comment about the regulations, because we have in the new system that we are running the 4th year now, 3 players. We have faculty, we have the doctoral school, and then we have doctoral program. And the doctoral programs are the basic units. They are very independent, and they can regulate the entrance, they can regulate the exit and so forth, but still the faculties are nominating, giving the degree, and also giving the right to pursue the doctoral degree. So that they have basically quite minor role anyway in the practical work.
You mean the faculty?
Yeah, the faculties. But then the programs should have a high profile. They want to attract students, and they are competing with each other. And that's a healthy competence. And the role of the doctoral school is to harmonize the entrance criteria as much as possible, and as much as accepted by the doctoral programs. And I think this is, it's running better and better. We have still problems. Some points are not very easy, but they are improving. So that the independence of the doctoral program is really high value in the new system, and I like it a lot.
Well, it's very true, but it's quite also clear that the faculties have to work very, very intricately with the doctoral programs and the doctoral schools to harmonize this. Do you think there is a big gap between the two?
No, it's kind of getting smaller and smaller.
Okay. You had a comment.
Yeah, the discussion is rolling around the 1,000-year-old tradition of Western university style of PhD education here, and it's very important that we streamline it up to the demands of the current era. But the world is changing. Somebody already said that before, and we currently have a dialogue ongoing with the higher education communities of the universities and universities of applied sciences, or ammattikorkeakoulut in Finnish, about the future-proofness of our system. And in connection with that, there's a survey still open. Anyone can answer, my mother or your daughters, whoever wishes to tell their opinions on where the development should go. And a week ago we checked what are the ideas that have been brought up in that arena. And one of the questions is that whether we should introduce also the so-called professional PhD system in Finland, as all the universities can confer doctoral degrees here. And so the demand from the society might be also very variable. It's not only the scientific excellence and scientific skills that are respected. Knowledge, competencies, capabilities, capacities, whether they are gained in formal education systems or in your hobbies or wherever, are respected by the employers. So maybe we should think this more broadly, not to concentrate only on the scientific PhD, but also how can you help the younger generation to build up the skills that are needed in the working life that is changing rapidly. And this is something that the State Council and the government is really working on now. How do we get the education system, research system, innovation system to meet the needs of the rest of the society, or vice versa?
So that's quite an important point. I must also compliment, because the doctoral program schools, all the education institutes have taken a lot of effort and monetary support towards extending PhD students' education, not just in academics, but also in other fields like business, negotiations, leadership, XYZ. So that's quite a good thing. It has been like now only for a few years, and it has seen a lot of positive growth within the PhD students and allowing them to go towards the industry And we, especially from the Biotech Club, really appreciate that effort from the education institutes, like especially from the University of Helsinki, who has lobbied money within the university to apply to these specific sectors of education. Do we have any further comments from the panel before we move on? From the audience, any quick comments? Yes, please.
I just want to make a couple of points. Okay, I just want to make a couple of points. One is that when we start off as PhD students, like someone mentioned, our roles are not clearly defined, and what we do doesn't just entail work that we do for our PhD. Lots of us do work for consortia and do other projects. Like we are in the bioinformatics area, so we do analysis for other PhD students and all this sometimes crops up unexpectedly, and then you kind of push your own project back to facilitate these, and I believe this adds to the number of years. That's one point I want to make. The other point that I want to make is that I worked for many years in the industry. I worked for many years for Nokia Finland, and the mindset that I have is that the supervisor and the students need to look towards the same direction. I don't see that here. What I see is the students want to get X number of papers, finish their PhD, and that's it. But of course, the supervisors have got bigger roles. They supervise, and then they've got their own units, goals to take care of. Right? So clearly they then want to meet those as well. And of course it's so much easier to use the PhD students to meet these other requirements as well. But then what happens is that then they look towards another direction, we look towards another direction, and no expectations are set up front to say that, look here, you're thinking you're going to be able to make it in 4 years, but you're not going to be able to because you need to do this, and I've got these things that I need you to do. These expectations are not set up front. And when the PhD student wonders after X number of years, why haven't I graduated yet? Then usually the PhD student is made to feel that the student has unrealistic expectations. I don't think that's fair, because I think even in the industry, you have, no matter how old you are, you can be 60 years old, you still need goals, you still need a timeline, you still need plans, but when a PhD student asks for a plan, the response usually is, this is a PhD, we cannot have timelines. I disagree. If you can put a man on the moon, then I think that you can treat a PhD as a project with timelines. I think this is the biggest problem that we have, that we are not looking towards the same direction and we have no timelines. Of course timelines shift, but that's why you have timelines, so that you can take stock every once in a while, check and balance. Have I taken too long in this project? Should I ditch this project? Or should I just let my PhD student struggle for 6 more months? Because hey, it's just time. But I think that's unfair.
So, you have a comment?
Yes, I was professor in the University of Helsinki and a long-time director or board member in graduate schools and graduate programs and whatever they evolved to be. And I think the comment we just heard was a very good one and clearly points to what is the title of this session, the Undefined PhD. We heard many comments why it's maybe not so alarming that the ages are high and people should focus on how much what they learn, but I think it is a problem, and it has been through all these decades the same. The PhD is very undefined. There are lots of very conflicting agendas and goals. It's still a fundamental problem is that it's not clear whether the PhD students are actually students or whether they are actually employees and researchers paid by their bosses' grants, expected to deliver a lot of things. Meanwhile, working on their PhD, we heard that in the clinical medicine, of course, that's very understandable. The main employment maybe with the hospital and the PhD is on top of that, but I don't think this is really the key of the problem. It is that the PhD is very undefined. It shouldn't depend on whether your boss happens to be successful with the next research grant or whether you are 1 year supported by some small foundation or not, or whether you get 20% of your fund through a graduate school. It's an extremely heterogeneous situation, and we are really pretending now, increasingly, with the new regulations coming from the big wheel, that this is somehow a homogeneous school, and now putting more responsibilities for supervisors, so that you, in addition to having to somehow be able to fund these people, now you also have to sort of appreciate that in fact there are students, and it's just your privilege to provide this education, and it is a very heterogeneous group of people with different, especially even PhD students obviously have to eat and survive, and the fact that already the funding is so heterogeneous puts them in a completely different position. So it's therefore, I think, if we move to an Anglo-Saxon system where the students are admitted to graduate school, they all have then funding through that, and then we can expect that to take 3 or 4 years. That's fine, but I think we do not get any forward with this making PhD more defined unless we appreciate this very heterogeneous situation that these young people are facing.
Thank you very much, especially for the position that you are in. From the top, being at the top, you're saying these comments. I think it's quite appreciated from your side, because that's how most of us feel being at the PhD level. To be very frank. Yes.
Hello everybody, my name is Daria Kazenko. I'm a postdoc at the University of Helsinki, and 2 months ago I published a book called Changing Hats, a book for academics looking beyond academia. So if you're interested, so I was really looking into this topic for quite a while, and I would like to connect 2 things that previously have been mentioned here but not connected. One is the thing, and I agree completely with the previous speaker on many points, but not on one. I think it is important what PhDs are. Are they students or are they employees? I think it's a crucial thing, especially when we think about the situation. If the situation is that 25%, and by some calculations, or in some fields it's only 10% of people who can stay in academia, it means that out of 10, 3, 4, or maybe 1 will stay, others have to find another job. So this is the starting situation. Why are we in this situation? It's another story. I'm not going there, right? But we are right now in this situation. And if we're here, everybody who graduates with a PhD needs to explain in the job market one very simple thing. Here is me, and here is my twin sister. We did exactly the same thing until we graduated from our masters. And once we did the masters, I went to make a PhD, and she went to the industry. Now, 4 years later, we're here applying for the same role. How we're different? Who of us has which type of qualities and skills? Are we qualified in the same way? How does my 4 years of PhD add? What do they add? What's the add value? I have been a student for 4 more years. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? I don't know how many of you are the members of Hyvat, the PhD association of the University of Helsinki. They actually have right now rebranded themselves into Association of PhD Researchers. They really don't want to be called students. And I think it is, well, I come from social sciences, and I know that language is important, and it is important how we frame things. That's my point.
So this again comes back to the definition of PhD, how a master's is and how you proceed to become a PhD, getting a doctorate in front of your name. What is the definition? What are the requirements? What exactly defines you? It's still very unclear, is what divides the whole audience, or many people from the comments that we have got. Yes, please, have a comment.
Hello?
Yeah.
I just want to ask, by show of hands, who consider themselves to be students? PhD students. And let's hands up for
What that option?
students.
What is that option?
What's the
The
definition?
other option is like you're like more of a worker or employee type. So students and employee or workers, researchers.
And who finds them in the space that they feel confused and they're like, I'm half and
That's a very interesting result.
so a lot of confusion already in this result here. Okay, let's yes please. Yes please.
I have heard.
I'll give you a mic. So
So I have heard, I don't know whether they are rumors or to be honest comments that are kind of passing by. Are students allowed to change the doctoral program in the midst of their PhD, doing PhD studies? So one doctoral program administers for 4 publications and some other doctoral program is okay with 2 publications, so a student gets a chance to shift the doctoral school, and how feasible is it, how the supervisor